Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 64. We got an amazing guest with us today, hanging out with Natalie Boss. Check her out on social media. She's got an awesome podcast. She runs BodyByBoss LLC, which everyone out there, you really need to go check this out. We get into a lot of great conversations in this show, talking about her background, how she changed her mindset throughout her life. It's really great, really a good time. So everyone, please throw on your headphones, turn that volume up, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The show is also being brought to you by Webb of DeHoff Realtors. Buy with Stark County's strongest realtor. Are you in the market to buy a house? It's that time of year, the end of the school year. You're looking to move, you're looking to buy. Well, check out our friend Webb. You can reach him at 281-889-0140, as well as on Facebook, Instagram. He's out there and available. Stark County's strongest realtor, Webb, DeHoff Realtors. Be sure to check him out. The show is also being brought to you by Gateway Dental Care, Isaac Couteau DDS out of Worcester, Ohio. Go out there and check them out, especially if you're located locally or in Worcester, Ohio, and you're listening right now. I want you guys to stop. Take note of this place, Gateway Dental Care. They have an amazing dentistry business going on here. Check it out. Anxiety-free dentistry. Who wants to go to the dentist? No one wants to go to the dentist. Well, we have to go to the dentist. We got to get our teeth cleaned. We got to get things taken care of. A lot of us have kids. We need to do that kind of stuff. They do everything here, from oral checkups to general checkups to cleanings, oral cancer screenings, help you with teeth grinding, gum disease therapy, ceramic crowns, full mouth reconstruction, mini dental implants, composite fillings, extractions. They have it all. They take care of you, make you feel great, and want you to come back. Again, Gateway Dental Care, located in Worcester, Ohio. Check them out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. So Chad and I have the honor to hang out with Natalie Boss. She is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and also a brown belt in judo. She also owns BodyByBoss LLC, where she's also a registered dietitian. So let's put that out there. But with BodyByBoss LLC, she also helps coach, say athletes, right? Natalie, you would say athletes, right?
I only work with athletes.
Yeah. Within breathing techniques, and she's a performance coach. She also co-owns, I'm going to screw this name up. Is it Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu in Philly, PA? I screwed that up.
Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu, yes. We closed that down when we moved to Texas because we
okay.
About, I guess, almost a year now.
Oh, wow. I did not know you were in Texas.
Open up
I thought you were still in Philly, so I'm sorry.
Yes. So, we moved here almost a year ago now, and we do have plans to open up a gym, but we're currently training at a location in Fort Worth. It's an affiliate, so it's still
nice.
Ribeiro, a lot of Ribeiro gyms kind of transferred to Six Blades, so that's kind of our affiliation now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard Six Blades many times, and Chad, you've talked about different people that we've come across that have come from or affiliated with Six Blades, whatever. So anyway, everyone out there, welcome Natalie Boss into the show. We thank you, Natalie, so much for hanging out with us. She also has her own podcast called Empowering the Athlete podcast.
The Empowered Athlete.
The Empowered Athlete. Yes, podcast. Terry is very old today, everybody, so just bear with me. I feel like more than 45 years old today. I don't know why. I actually started running again yesterday, so maybe that's why. I'm trying to coach my daughter. She's going to run cross country, and my wife runs a lot, so they were like, hey, Dad, come run with us. So I'm very sore today, too, because I haven't ran in a while. I ran for 12 years, and I ran like 25 plus miles a week. And then I just do jujitsu now. So I don't run anymore. And yeah, nothing like throwing some shoes on and going, hey, let's go for a run. And then you're like dead and your shins hurt and everything else is bad. And I'm like,
the splints are no joke. I was a track athlete for a hot minute there, and they are no joke. And, your body's saved in other ways, not running anymore, but still beat up in jujitsu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How's jujitsu going for you, Natalie?
Jiu-Jitsu is amazing right now. I'm currently a 4-stripe brown belt, so that's really exciting.
Nice.
That black belt's on the horizon. I've been doing this since 2010, so I've never really had an attachment to belts, though, because I've been doing martial arts my whole life. So I have a black belt in Taekwondo. It was a journey to get there. And I just released that need to, kind of go to that belt, knowing that as long as you don't quit, you'll get your black belt. So that was kind of the only thing ever in my mind. But knowing that it's close, jiu-jitsu holds a special place in my heart with all the martial arts that I've done. So this one probably means the most once I get it.
Nice. Yeah. And it's awesome. I love hearing people, explain it. So I'm a 4-stripe white belt. Started, I was 41 years old, 42 years old, actually. But it's so interesting because so many people have to get over that. Like, hey, I'm chasing a color. And it's like, you shouldn't be chasing a color, like chase knowledge, like in everyday life, and it sounds like that's more what you went to, after you started and kind of doing that, that's, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The interesting turn of events for jiu-jitsu for me was, well, the funny story is, right, there's always that marketing, right? So I worked Taekwondo and I actually always loved dancing. And so I was not a professional dancer by any means, but I just love that. So I actually was interested in capoeira because it is a beautiful kind of blend between and dancing. So at the time, Capoeira in Philadelphia, they offered it on their website. So I called inquiring about it. And they were like, oh, the people here don't train anymore. We didn't update our website on that. So if you want, you could try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instead. So I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll try it. Of course, now that I'm in it, I'm like, it's not capoeira. Although my style of training is very capoeira-like. I am a very flippy-dippy, aggressive, fast-paced fighter. So there is maybe a little bit of that. Just no formal training. And so the interesting aspect for me joining jiu-jitsu was being a lifelong athlete in numerous sports and martial arts. I always kind of say this because, of course I had an ego coming into jiu-jitsu, like 100%.
Sure.
Because I was a very elite athlete. When it came to Taekwondo too, I was training at the national level and my goal was to be in the Olympics. So I was training a lot. I was very, very good. Constantly. I don't think I've ever received anything other than a gold medal in sparring and breaking boards. I never did weapons, but I did breaking boards, sparring, and forms or kata. And I never received anything less than a gold medal. So I had an ego going into jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm a black belt in this sport. I'm a lifelong athlete. I got this thing. And I completely, of course, got my butt handled to me in that first session. And I was like, at that point, just about to go into college. I started that summer and I was going in that fall to start college. So the commitment was like, crap, I really like this, but I'm also about to start college. So this is going to be wonky. But long story short, I got beat up and I was like, sign me up. I'm going to find a way to make it work. And I'm going to master this thing because I do not like how I was handled. And the other interesting thing was being in martial arts. I've always been a huge advocate for self-defense. And I've never felt like a victim in my life because of martial arts and the way that it helps you present yourself. I'm 5'2". I was blonde most of my life, like bleach blonde. So like I was quote unquote, it could be a victim on the streets.
Sure. Right. You fit the stereotype, right, of that.
Exactly. And the way that I hold myself, I never really experienced that victimhood. But when I got on that jiu-jitsu mat and was handled like that, I realized I really don't know how to defend myself. I've been doing martial arts my whole life and none of that mattered. None of that mattered when we got into the ground. So that was like, it kind of motivated me to want to master it as well as really just develop real self-defense. And that's kind of where my whole like passion shifted, where I was like, always it. And I still love Taekwondo. It's the gateway to martial arts is like what I like to call it.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. For sure. Yeah.
Great for kids, discipline, just like the forms, the patterns, all the little things. Mm-hmm. But the real self-defense is going to be in jiu-jitsu. And that's where I was like, thank God I never got into a fight because I got into fist fights as a kid, but never got into like real life altercations where jiu-jitsu would have come in handy. Now I feel way different about that. But that was one of the reasons why I was like, wow, I really need to get into this because I need to know how to truly defend myself in a live situation. Yeah,
it's good. And that's, I have a 12-year-old daughter. And I have these conversations with her and my 14-year-old son. They're first degree black belts in Taekwondo. I'm still trying to convince them to come over to the jiu-jitsu side. Now I got my 8-year-old to do so, but he's taking a little backseat right now because baseball's like in his mind all the time, but he's 8. So I'm like, all right, buddy, you can chill. Dad'll do it still, but you can chill. It's fine. But I try to, because my daughter, I have these conversations like, I'm like, you're young and you know, just because I know what I know now, you need to be able to, you can think that you can protect yourself, but you need to be able to, and the world's not going in a direction where women are protected on a regular basis unless they can protect themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
and one of the things that really annoys me about, I will say Taekwondo, I'm sure it's a lot of the other stand-up martial arts too that kids often get into, is I always had this complex around, they would give black belts to these 12-year-olds, to 8-year-olds.
Right. Yeah.
8-year-olds with black belts. I'm like, they're giving themselves a false sense of this confidence and false sense of being able to protect themselves. You're going to get snatched up in a car. Like, I don't care if you're a 3 straight black belt at 8 years old. You don't know anything. Like, you're not going to be able to do your punch to get away. And that was something I always really didn't like, that like took me away from that. I really admired in jiu-jitsu where they have to be, I think it's 16 before they can get their blue belt. Even if they've been training since they were like 3 years old. And I really admired that, because when you get that blue belt at that age, you have a solid foundation of real life application that you can feel confident, true confidence in being able to be on the street and like defending yourself in that attack. So that's one of the biggest differentiators that I really, really admired about jiu-jitsu, where it's actually cultivating people who know how to defend themselves and not to giving them this false sense that they know, and really then it's not applicable.
And it does too. Like, it's a huge false sense, because let's be honest, there are people still to this day that train in other martial arts. And I don't ever knock down any martial arts. We all started at a gate of somewhere. Like you said, Natalie, I did the same. I started in Jeet Kune Do Kung Fu when I was really young, and did some stuff throughout in Chad as well. But there are still people today like, oh yeah, I know all this stuff. It's like, well, you really don't know. You don't know anything until you do jiu-jitsu.
Well, yeah. We always talk. We always say you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, I started karate back in the 80s, and I was pretty good at point sparring and fight, that kind of thing. And I thought I could handle myself until my first jiu-jitsu class at 29 years old and got my butt kicked, man. And you leave like, man, was that all a waste? And we know it's not. It wasn't a waste. We've all said, it was the gateway to get us into another martial art. But man, just being tested every day on the mat, you know what you can do. You're a little more confident that way.
100%.
Yeah,
definitely. Did that, when you started in jiu-jitsu, Natalie, did it kind of cultivate a coaching, like because it sounds like you always had that passion, and, in reading about you and, doing some research, as I always do, you kind of had that, even like being an elite athlete in high school all the way out when you started. Most athletes probably don't think about nutrition that much in high school, and it sounds like you did. It sounds like you were like, so I'm like, I bet she liked to coach when she was younger as well.
I'm always, and have always been, a very self-motivated person, somebody who's so curious about life, loves to learn, loves to grow. That's been something that has taken me with being an athletic, constantly doing research on like, how can I just be better? And it led me to do some health style changes. My health journey started at sixth grade is when I really started to be aware of nutrition and things like that, and started to Google. I did the thing I don't recommend people do, is just Google, what do you do to be healthy? And
it's not funny, but everyone out there is always like, yeah, Googling, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow. It's like, great. Don't do that.
So I did some things that I agree with now as a dietitian, and I did some things that I don't agree with it as being a dietitian. But the long story of it is basically that it opened the gateway for me to kind of just like explore that aspect. And I, as a Taekwondo practitioner, was always into coaching. It's kind of something that, being maybe in Taekwondo yourself or knowing with your kids, once you get a certain rank, they expect you to start teaching and coaching and assistant coaching. So I was an assistant coach for a very long time. I was really young when I started, probably 16 or 17 coaching. I've always been a good motivator for people. So I'm never willing to tell somebody to do something I'm not willing to do myself. So I lead by example, which is something that I think is a good quality in a coach. So I naturally always took leadership positions, always took coaching positions, did lots of leadership programs in high school that were unrelated to coaching in martial arts or sports, but it's been something I always loved cultivating. And sure. So I knew that it was going to translate. It translated in Taekwondo. And as soon as I joined Jiu-Jitsu, of course, I was like, this is definitely a role that I'm going to be stepping into.
Nice. Yeah. And it's, it's vital to be in that mindset when you're coaching, because you want someone else to be better. You're not looking, you know what I mean? Like coaches, I always tell people all the time. So I coached a lot in different sports and stuff. And I'm like, if you're coaching just to win for yourself, then you're doing it all wrong. Like you need to be coaching to make someone else better. Like you're already there in a sense, but you're still learning. So that's awesome. Like, I love it. Like, see, I watch a lot of your stuff, obviously, on social media, and guys, she's not saying anything that's not true in terms of what she's preaching is what she does. So guys, check out, make sure you check out now. Yeah. Because it's like telling someone in a job, it's like, well, I don't get down and do the dirty work, but you do the dirty work and you coach the people the athletes that you're coaching. You're with them. You're not just telling them to do something and not doing it yourself, like you just alluded to. And I think it's vital for people to understand that.
And I think that, again, if you desire to be in a coaching role, I always tell people when I'm coaching them, depending on whatever it is, I do some life coaching as well for athletes. So it's what are your core values? And for me, one of my core values is integrity. So everything that I do is through that lens of integrity. And if there is something that is not integral with what I'm doing, I either fix what I'm doing first before I put it out in the world and invite somebody else to do it. Or I just figure out, like, is this something that isn't integrity with me anymore? And then I just get rid of it. And then I stop talking about it, or just get rid, because we evolve as we evolve. So
sure, exactly. Yeah.
As maybe a part of me that was 10 years ago had a certain belief system or did something that maybe I no longer agree with, I check in with the version of me now. Is this still in truth? Is it still in alignment and integrity with me? If yes, great, we keep going. If not, then we push it aside and we start talking about something else. So that's like something that I think is really important when it comes to being a coach, is just having integrity, because people want to follow. People want to follow a leader.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to follow a leader who doesn't embody what they're teaching, because, I've always had an issue with authority. I'm a rebel at heart in every sense of the word. And it was always really, really confusing to me why adults in my life when I was a kid would just tell me to do something that I would notice in their actions they weren't doing. Or other people would say, oh, you have to do this because X, Y, Z society says you have to. But yet what I would witness is the opposite of what they're saying. I'm like, I refuse to do something just because you're telling me when you're not even doing it, right? Like, it was just something that I noticed at a very young age. And I was like, I'm not just going to do this because you told me. Like, I'm sorry. And it would rub people the wrong way. And I was always told, you go against the grain, Natalie. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm still going to go against the grain. But, that's how you find your own way too. And I just believe that I'm really proud of myself for sticking to that within me in such a young age, because then we spend the whole rest of our lives, if we follow that advice, figuring out who we actually are.
Yeah.
We're so used to doing what everybody else says instead of following.
Yeah. It's good on you to not let that be beat out of you. You know what I mean? Because it happens so often. Like, we don't, as a society, whatever we want to call it, we don't nurture things that we see as older people or adults, like in younger people. Like, we tend to try to beat things out of them. Now, some things, yeah, sure. Like, I get it. Some things probably need to be beat out of kids, not beat out of them, everyone. Like, it's figuratively speaking. Everyone will start messaging me all week. Oh, you beat people. No. What I'm saying is, like, get something that's so hardcore inside you. We'll learn to nurture it. And Chad and I have talked about that before, like younger people, like trying to nurture their, passions and things like that. So it sounds like it's not that you chose that yourself. Like, you knew people were like, hey, trying to get you away from going against the grain. They're trying to get you to flow. Like, everyone just wants you to be a follower and not a leader.
Yeah. And because I always felt aligned with that, being a leader, even at the youngest age, I probably didn't know what that meant, but I just knew different in that way. That was always kind of what my North Star was. And the interesting thing, which maybe you can relate to, is, you know, the interesting paradox of becoming a leader and choosing to be a leader in any space is that oftentimes there is that isolation and that loneliness because you're going against the grain. So it's like, it really depends on not what you value most, but like what you're willing to sacrifice in the meantime. And, you know, a lot of that was I sacrificed a lot of things such as social gatherings. You know, I wasn't the typical, don't get me wrong, I did my fair share of underage drinking in high school. If anybody lies to you and said they never did that, that's a lie.
Right.
Sorry, I know you have kids.
Chad. No, I'm just kidding.
But, you know, I mean, I was in high school going to Polish school lessons. Like, I was full grown, you know, in high school, kids are going out drinking every weekend. And every single Saturday from 8 to 12, I went to a Catholic church or a Polish church and learned Polish in person because
Okay.
You know, like I just did these things where I was like, I just desire this thing and I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And, you know, I didn't relate to a lot of people my age because of that.
Because of that. Sure. Right.
I would just do these other things. I go to these leadership events. You know, I think what often deters people is, and it makes perfect sense because we're social beings. We want to be in relation and communion with other people. Mm-hmm. And we want that to have that person to come with when trying something new to make it less scary. But for me, it's always been really easy to put myself out there, to just be like, I really want to do this thing, so I'm going to do it. I'm the only one going. I ask around, people don't want to go. Okay, cool. You can stay home. I'm going to go and just like put myself out there. And I just think that opens you up for a lot of experiences and just really helps you learn all the skills and navigate the things you have to navigate in order to really just step more into that.
Yeah, spot on. 100%. Yeah, 100% for sure. It's like walking into a jiu-jitsu gym and you're like, oh God, what am I getting into? Which we had some newer guys just recently at the gym, and I talked to them and, you know, introduced myself and whatever. And I'm like, hey, just come back. And after class, even I'm like, hey, did you have fun? Good. Glad to see you here, man. And just come back, keep coming back, because it's the hardest part. And you know this, Natalie, and Chad and I've talked about it before. Like, it's so hard to pull in a parking lot to go in if you've never done anything like that before. So
no offense, but also at 41 years old.
Yeah.
That point, like, you're an established man. You have years of ego. We all have ego, but like the society that, you know, the way that they place it on men, you know, to be able to show up to something and start something new and meet a new group of friends. You know, I just don't want to skip over that aspect because, you know, it's really overlooked, you know.
Sure. Even
when it comes to like grown men, you know, like they should be praised for wanting to better themselves, you know, despite the years and decades maybe of not doing that for themselves.
Sure. Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So instead of kind of being like, oh, you're so old doing this and making them feel a little ashamed for joining at such a late age, it's like, what if we could shift the perspective and really be like, wow, that's really awesome that you chose to do this and, you know, make this big step in yourself. And I think it's really important, like you said, like welcoming those people in. It's important because so many times I've seen higher belts or even lower belts, like blue belts, just try to prove a point with these new people.
Right.
And it's like, your goal is to get them to want to stay.
Yeah.
Right. And if you just try to beat them up in a way where they're not going to feel comfortable back, you know, really think about, like, put your ego aside and think about the impact that they're not going to have in their life if they don't join jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right.
What they're going to be missing out on the transformation and personal growth and the health and the emotional health and like all of these things, you know. So really thinking up from that perspective to be like, this is why you're here, you know. So like, really don't forget that.
Right.
Yeah.
I've literally said that, to not in a bad way of any means, very much like you just said it, Natalie, but I'm like, if I felt that from someone, I'm like, well, why are you here? Like, if they're above me, I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, you had to go through the same thing. I never took it. For me, I'm just a white belt. I'm not a belt chaser though. I'm a knowledge chaser. Like, at my age, I was like this, I've always wanted to do this. So I knew going in, it was going to be really hard. And I was like, I just want to see how can I like to challenge myself. I've done it a ton of times, different things. I'll pick something and then I'll go all in. And I'm like, I'm going to go do that until I know I can reach this thing. Like dumbest things where I wanted to do fingertip pull-ups. I've talked about them on the show before. So I trained for like a year just to do one, just very tip fingertips. And I was like, all I want to do is do one, and I just got addicted to it.
Pull up or a fingertip push up?
A fingertip pull up, just 4 fingers. I just wanted to do just 4 fingers, just one pull up. And so I just got addicted to it. Then I just kept doing them all the time and I got really good at them and very comfortable and they were very easy for me. So then jujitsu was kind of like that for me too. I was like, oh, something I always want to do. Told my wife, she's like, what is that? And I've told her, and then she's like, oh, okay, go ahead. So I called Chad and said, hey man, I want to do this. And he's like, come in next week. So I did. And then I've been there ever since. And Chad talks about, go ahead, Chad. Why don't you talk about like breaking your toys, right? What do we say?
I was going to say that.
There you go.
We always say, don't break your toys. You don't have nothing to play with if you break all your toys, right? Like you said, we want these people to come back. And I don't think it's said enough. So I have another black belt at the gym that teaches with me on certain nights, Pete Schock, and he's very good at letting people know like, hey, we need you, whatever your rank is, white belt, brand new, blue, whatever it is, we need you. And not just because we're black belts doesn't mean anything in the big picture. We have to have you for all of us to rise together. And I think that's not said enough, right? It's always thinking everybody needs us, you need the black belt, but we need you just as much.
100%. Yeah. People want to feel, having worked and currently working with athletes, especially female athletes, the biggest things I'm always seeing, especially when it comes to themes with leaving other gyms, it's not feeling wanted. It's not feeling valued. It's not feeling like they're heard, that their needs are met. There's also the other side to their coin, which is they have to ask in order to receive. So that's a whole other aspect. A lot of people don't ask and then they're not getting their needs met and then they feel resentful and then leave versus I am such a big advocate for communication. Like I am a communication, like everything that I do when it comes to coaching and every single aspect, it's like, did you communicate? Like that's the number one thing that would eliminate so much stress among people and themselves is like, did you communicate? And so their side of it is like they have to ask for what they want to receive. But then on the other side of it, it's also knowing that you're the person stepping in that leadership role, choosing to own an academy, choosing to bring people in to set that tone and to create that culture.
Exactly. 100%.
It's no fault if they don't create that because like you said, what you don't know, you don't know.
Sure.
But 2 aspects of that. Are you growing and evolving and learning yourself in order to know more, in order to integrate more so that you can constantly grow and expand? If you're not doing that and you're just running it the way that you've run it the exact same way for 40 years, times change, people evolve. If you're not evolving, you're left behind. And that's why people are leaving because they're evolving and they want more and you're not providing that.
You're not providing it.
You can stay in your ego and stay in the same ways, or you can choose to evolve and grow. And it doesn't mean you're less of a person because you're changing something that you had established. But to really just use that as an opportunity to want to connect and want to grow, your academy and just the jiu-jitsu as a whole.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we see it all the time now, like more. And obviously social media helps bring that to the forefront for all of us in terms of seeing things. But we see it so much now where people aren't getting their needs met at certain, gyms or whatever. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not just saying this in jiu-jitsu. This is all kinds of stuff. Happens in all kinds of, for athletes or for people, everyday people. It's like, because the other people aren't changing. They're not being good coaches or good people in terms of knowing those around them need more. You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable. Like I go, what year is it? Like, what is happening? You know what I mean? Like Chad and I have those conversations sometimes. It's like, what is happening? So again, Natalie, definitely spot on. 100%. It's awesome because having that attitude in coaching, you have to, or just for people in general, good night. It's like, just be a good human being.
And just for anyone listening who maybe is in that boat, when it comes to like expanding and learning and growing, it's important to take it small, because we are all, each of us, hardwired to resist change.
Yep.
So as much as we're also designed to literally grow and evolve our entire life, like that's our purpose here, being on earth, I believe, as humans, is to constantly grow and evolve into our best self. The weird aspect to it is that the brain's also hardwired against change.
Yeah.
100%.
So you don't shock your system in that change. It's important that you just take it slow. Like, what's one small thing you can integrate or learn and just integrate it into your system slowly versus being like, oh God, now I have to like uphaul everything and change everything 360. That can cause a lot of chaos in your system and just make you have a distaste for it, for the sport,
right.
what you're doing, you know, because it's causing a lot of internal turmoil and internal identity crisis.
Yeah. Definitely. I actually had it's kind of like that with the run that I was talking about with my daughter yesterday. So my wife she's way faster than I am now. She never was, but now she is, which is, I love it. It's great. But my daughter, 12, she started to run. And so we were running beside each other and I was more shuffling than I was running, but she's like, it hurts, Dad. Like it hurts so bad. And I gave her your mind is going to pound you right now and just tell you to quit and tell you to stop and don't do this. And why do you do it? I was like, and just coached her through that. I was like, this is new. This is new for you, your body to experience, and that, and, coach her through that whole point. Cause she knows I'm very much like that. Like the brain is going to shut you down before your internal is going to shut you down. Like when you learn, like your soul of yourself, your brain, like you said, Natalie, is hardwired to basically control us in a way. And people might think that sounds weird, but it's true. Like everything you ever do in your life, if you listen to just your brain, it's going to tell you to do one thing, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to give you some kind of feedback. And you really need to think about that, and a jujitsu is the same exact way, in terms of just don't overthink it like Terry does, as Chad tells me all the time. And we're always like, he's like, I can see you thinking right now, it's too late. You're sweeping on the ground. And I'm like, dang it.
Oh man, I was such a thinker, especially at blue belt, but definitely now where I'm at right now, I've understood what it meant to make that switch. It probably happened around 4-stripe purple belt, where I really started to understand that concept of just like flow and energy and being able to really nail it in at like brown belt. And it's a completely different experience, but definitely putting the years on the mats of that drilling helped in the muscle memory to be able to transfer that. But the interesting thing I wanted to say, because it's something I always coach, being both like a fitness instructor, like I do so much. It's so hard I never know what to put in my bio and who I am. Because I'm always growing and evolving. There's so much I'm doing. Like I do so much. People are like, I didn't even know you did that. I'm like, I know. And, like I'm a fitness coach, I teach kettlebells. I've certified people in kettlebells, and I've been a trainer because fitness was what got me into a lot of what I do today, obviously. And there's a 40% rule from the Navy SEAL. Have you ever heard of it?
So go ahead. I'm gonna let you. So is it the 40%, like what Goggins talks about? Like what David Goggins talks about?
This is
he doesn't. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if it could be the same. Let me know. But basically, this is how powerful our mind is, which is why, and especially as we know in jujitsu is, I used to say jujitsu is like what I used to say, maybe like 50% mental, 50% physical, but I changed that. And I was like, again, I discerned, is that true? Hell no. It's 90% mental. It's 10% physical. and so the quote is the 40% rule is that when your mind is telling you that you're done and you're exhausted and you're getting that, like, I can't go anymore, this is my absolute limit. It's actually the fact is that you're actually only 40% done physically
with your body.
So when your mind starts to tell you that you're not capable, you can't go on, you can't do this, you're actually physically at 40% your capacity. So you have 60% more of your capacity if you can overcome the mental blocks.
Yep.
And I mean, if that's not jujitsu in a nutshell.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That applies to everything. But that was something when I read that years and years ago. But that was something I'm always like doing my workouts, doing jujitsu, whenever I feel myself just like, man, this is a tiring round. I'm okay, great. I have so much more left. I just need to get my thoughts, my mind, my breath under control. And then I got this.
Nice. Did you, this is going to sound stupid. I'm sure. Did you use this in competition too? Like that mindset? Would you go into competition that way? Like if you're training for a comp coming up, or you're in the middle of a match and something went wrong or something, where you like, all right, we need to reel back and then gather that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. In training, in competition, 100%. It's because, especially in those situations, I would say competition even more so, the adrenaline is up, the anxiety is up, all of the circumstantial things involving competition are present. And that's why we compete, to overcome those fears that aren't present in the dojo, in my opinion. I think that's really what helps us overcome those challenges even more. And so when you can really work through the mind through all of that, I mean, that's what I always talk about when it means, that's when you're going to reach your potential. That's when you're going to really be able to perform to your best. And just knowing that is really helpful, because when those thoughts come up, then you kind of can check in and be like, am I actually, there's a caveat that I'll get to in a second, but this is the general 40% rule for most people. It's mostly the mind that is halting people from reaching that next level.
Yep.
But as a dietitian, as a performance coach, I do have to insert the piece of maybe you do actually don't have the energy because you're not eating right, right? Because you're overtrained. So there is that aspect to it, which is why in order to perform to your highest potential, both need to be considered. Your physical performance and your mental. The mental weighs heavily on your ability to perform physically, but you cannot neglect the physical, right? Maybe you are actually exhausted because you didn't eat breakfast or lunch before training for hours. That makes sense. You probably don't have the tank. But when we are operating in those states, overtrained or burnt out or adrenal fatigued or exhausted, underfed, these things, dehydrated, that's actually going to incite those thoughts to come on quicker. Those thoughts are going to come on quicker because we're operating from that survival mode. We're operating from that panic, from that anxiety. So when you can start to fill yourself up physically with all of the requirements that are going to make you feel good as an athlete, perform good as an athlete, usually you can sustain yourself a lot longer before those thoughts start to kick in, if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
If you're underfed, overtrained, those thoughts might start to kick in at like 10 minutes. But if you're doing all the right things, and the mind might start to kick in after like 40 minutes. Right. Yes, so you have this increased capacity to be able to handle and sustain physical endurance and performance. And then you can address the mindset stuff. So both have to be considered.
So I'm a borderline diabetic, inherited. And like it runs through our bloodline. And I found out, I still do blood all the time, but it's been since the pandemic, right? Probably about 2 years now. So I know if I go to the gym at night and I don't eat right, and then my brain will be like, you're an awful human being or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it starts shutting down. And even guys at the gym be like, man, you're all right. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. And I know why. I don't talk about it there. So in the middle of whatever, but I know it's like, yeah, because I ate one thing today, and it wasn't something that I probably should have ate. So my sugar levels are, I don't take insulin. I'm not insulin dependent or anything like that, but I'm very crucial on my macros and what I take in, for my fats, proteins, and carbs. I keep my carbs low and make sure they're not processed carbs and stuff like that because of the sugars. It helps me. And I've done that for a long time. I weigh all my food out. So I can relate to what you're speaking of, and it's crucial that people understand that, because I'll always go to that. Like if someone's like, oh, I feel like this, I'm like, hey, would you eat? Like Chad and I have those conversations. He'll be like, because he knows me now, and he'll be like, dude, what'd you eat? And he knows. It's like, crap. Or, if I have a drink, which I don't, if it's too much, or if I'm like, oh, I had too many glasses of wine, or I drank a glass of whiskey and I shouldn't have, that I'm going to pay for it, or I'm paying for it, like worse than just a regular person would be because of the sugars or whatever it may have you. So I can relate to that.
Well, I'm a really big, big advocate for all foods can fit, even having diabetes or whatever, like you can still include your favorite foods and everything like that. The way that I look at it is twofold. Like we always have choice. And so, for alcohol is, for an example, knowing that all foods can fit, can alcohol fit into my diet? Sure. I personally don't like how it makes me feel, so I choose not to drink it.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to choose to drink it, then what I tell people is when you choose something, you cannot go back and feel guilty for it later, feel ashamed for it later. Because you made that choice, it's your only job is to now own it. Own your choice.
Yeah. Accountability.
Go back and just be regretful. Oh, I had this thing. I didn't really want to eat this thing of fries. You ate it. You didn't have to.
Right.
You did.
Yeah. There's no excuses now.
Because otherwise, honestly, you're giving that fries disservice.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right.
You ate those fries because you wanted to enjoy it. So now you're not going to enjoy it by feeling guilty for it. So nobody wins. The fries, you're not even enjoying the fries and you're going to feel like shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like nobody's winning. So if you're going to make the decision, own it. If it's not maybe in alignment with your highest performance, like just own it, and that's like something that's really important. And the other aspect to that is then also manage your expectations. If you go in knowing that you didn't fuel your body enough, this is a really big thing I teach athletes, knowing you didn't fuel your body enough. It's not about guilting yourself. It's not about feeling bad for yourself for making those actions. Maybe you were stressed one day and you found, that you didn't eat anything all day and went to training. Then don't think that you're going to perform to your best. Then manage your expectations, manage how you're going to train. Mm-hmm. Focus on flow rolling, focus on choosing people that don't give you that much of a fight so you can still show up, sit out when you need to. And then realize that if that's not how you want your jiu-jitsu journey to be, you want to be able to train 6 sets straight, then the actions that you choose to take the next day maybe will look a little different.
Yeah, 100%.
But in that moment, those are the choices you made and you're just reaping the repercussions of those actions. So now you have to own it and adjust your expectations accordingly, because guilt, shaming yourself, none of that is going to help you in the present moment or towards your future goals.
Yeah.
That's what's going to set you back further. So forgive yourself and just know that every single moment you have a new choice to choose again. And as long as you keep redirecting those actions towards the goals that you desire, then over time, hopefully those actions will shift and then you'll be able to start, being able to show up for those healthier habits.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. One thing I think we don't talk about enough too, especially the older I get. I'm even older than Terry, which is hard to believe. But I'll be 40. Yeah, I know. I'll be 47 in September. This is my 18th year of jiu-jitsu, right? And I grew up doing karate and all that. But it's okay to take rest rounds, right? But, and it took a long time. Like, if the gym was open, I had to be there. It's like, oh, what are we going to, who's going to stop in? What are we doing at open mat? Like, it took a long time for me to start saying, you know what? I'm taking Saturday and Sunday off and I'm not rolling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So rest rounds are so important. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
important, and one topic I often talk about a lot with athletes is something that it's applied in athletics in general, but I kind of use this term in my coaching of training undulation. I wrote a couple articles on it and posts about it, but essentially it's formulating your training in a way that allows you to sustain your performance for endurance of the week without necessarily having to take off completely. Now, I do believe in full rest days, but what often I see the most is this type of strategy and pattern where people train really, really hard for 4 or 5 days and then they burn out the last half of the week.
Right.
And then sore and they burn out, and then the recovery is a little bit wonky going into the next week. When you can undulate your training, meaning picking 3 days of the week where you're going balls to the walls, 2 days of the week where you're going mediocre, 1 day of the week where you're going light, that actually allows the body more recovery time throughout the week. So when you go back between that high intensity day to that middle intensity, there's more time because you're giving your body time to rest while in motion. So it actually allows you to recover quicker while still moving. And this will allow you to be able to, you'll still take some rounds out when you need to, but you won't have to take as many and feel like it's setting you back because you're like, I constantly have to take out 3-4 rounds of my training because I'm so burnt out versus, okay, maybe 1 round once a week, right? Versus this is related to like days, like rest days. But you're able to sustain that endurance because you have this undulating pattern down within your schedule with what works with each individual. Of course, I'm a big proponent for full rest days. I do them and I think they're amazing. And I encourage everybody to do that, not when you're burnt out or injured, which is usually when people do it. They're like,
Right.
Right.
an MCL tear. Okay, time to rest.
Right. They don't take care of themselves before that. Right. Exactly.
I got COVID. Great. I'm off for jujitsu for 2 weeks. And it's like, that's not how we want to look at recovery and rest. We want to try to integrate it into our weekly and daily habits so that we can continue to go on every single week. We feel fresh because of the way that we are kind of creating that schedule.
Sure. And
it's important as you get older too.
It's so vital. And I try to carry myself more like this. At first, when I started jujitsu, just because I love to run and work out, as a gym rat, and Chad would tell me, he's like, dude, you got to slow down, man. Just slow down. Don't worry about it. Take some time off. Only roll with certain people. Like, he'd be like, pick people out before when you get there. Like, hey, we could roll in tonight. Like, don't try to roll with that 20-year-old kid over there that's going to be competing, every day of his life and try to kill somebody. You know what I mean?
Well, and we all know what 2 new white belts look like rolling, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be
even
really
I know
tired. Yeah, you're going to be tired.
I'm not gonna lie, I avoid the new white belts pretty often.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I got an eye poke the other day and I was like, this is why I'd rather just,
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time I rolled with Chad.
One stripe on your belt. So you at least know something.
A little bit. Right. I headbutted him in the face. He's like, there goes my modeling career. And I literally said, this is why you don't roll with white belts, Chad.
Yeah.
Coach, whatever. Yeah. But I've learned flow rolling and I'm older. So I'm like, I understood that very fast. I picked that up quickly. And the ego part of it for me was kind of like, it was there, but it wasn't there to where I'm like, it's cool. Like, I'm not here. Like, if we're out in the street and we're fighting for real, it's going to be a different story. But in here, I'm trying to learn, man. So if you want to beat me up, then beat me up. It's fine. I don't care. Like, I got to learn this somehow. That's kind of how I've always approached it. And then if I roll with white belts now that are new, I'll literally ask them instantly, how long you been here? This is my first night. Okay, cool. Let's work on what you did tonight. I'll give you some resistance. You're going to do just the moves we did tonight. I've done them. That's fine. We can move and I'll, give you whatever, but that's kind of how I've approached it. And that's all because my coach is who he is. He's a 47-year-old guy with a big beard that says, listen, that makes a good environment, which keeps people there because of that. So like we talked about earlier in the show. So
flow rolling was really hard for me. It's actually my primary goal as a brown belt is to master flow rolling. As I said, I've been lifelong athletic. I've done my body type, and what I've been involved in has been always explosive type sports. I've been a sprinter in track. I did basketball, soccer, and I did taekwondo and jiu-jitsu.
You did basketball? What town did you grow up in, Natalie? You're 5'2".
Philadelphia.
Well, you had to play basketball. That's right. You did.
I was an inner city kid, so I had
you had no choice.
And so the thing is, I'm also just by nature an adrenaline junkie. Like, I literally love anything that is fast. I was obsessed with roller coasters as a kid. Skydiving is still on my bucket list. It's going to be this year, maybe next year. But just I've always lived for adrenaline. So I kind of channeled that adrenaline rush in my training. And I love training like that, although it can be very taxing for other people because it's very fast paced. I train very fast. I never slow down. But I realized that in some level, that's my comfort zone, right? So I'm always looking to grow, always looking to evolve. So I'm like, what is my next challenge in jiu-jitsu? Of course, it's always to build on my techniques and fine tune timing and precision and all of that. But my biggest challenge is really learning how to slow down and learning how to flow. And that's a big, I don't want to say ego challenge for me, but it's more so because I'm open to doing it, but it's just a really hardwired behavior.
Yeah.
It's really, part of it is sometimes it's hard for me to be well, if I just give up this position to let them work top, I lose points.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm competitor, right? So I'm should I do that? So that's been what I've been evolving is finding that right time to be okay, let's just transition. I know that I got this position or this submission and then kind of let go. And then, so that's been a big challenge for me that has been really fun because the way that I train jiu-jitsu when it's my own time And when I prepare for competition, I feel like it's very different than maybe what a lot of other people do because of my style of jiu-jitsu. And this is actually how I train for marathons and half marathons, which is really interesting. I train through sprints versus endurance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when I trained for my half marathons, I actually trained through only sprints. I didn't necessarily even hit the long-term mileage that they recommend before going into those races. I trained sprints, and as I did the races live time, I sprinted the race the way that I trained, because that's how my body was designed, being a short twitch muscle fiber. Packed muscular person. So in jiu-jitsu, it's the same way. Explosiveness is actually very favorable to my body type. So when I train for world or big competitions or any competition, I compete next weekend, I actually love doing sets of like 10 to 20 that are 2 minutes long. And it's sprint, because it allows for that urgency, because I don't like bullshitting around in my match, right? Like some people, I got 6 minutes. Great. Let me get inside control and stall for 4 minutes. Like,
right.
I don't really want to do that. I want to do my thing, get the takedown, finish and finish. So when you're in that 2 minutes, it creates this urgency that I only have 2 minutes. I don't actually have 8 minutes.
Right.
So like helps you train that sequence faster. And what also helped me integrate that more was judo. And doing all the judo competitions that I've done, the matches are 3 minutes. So always. So I didn't know that. Shorter, and your job is to literally just get the takedown and to throw them. So there's no room for kind of dilly-dallying, because you got 3 minutes and then there's like overtime, and you do not want to be doing more than 3 minutes of judo, because it is so cardio taxing. So difficult. And so it really trained me to be like, oh wow, I need to get this down and pin like quick. And then I translated that to jiu-jitsu, and saw much success in competition with that mindset. And so I really enjoyed it because it worked with my body, but then it was also a great way to train conditioning, because I would still go for 10, 20 rounds, but it was just 2 minutes. And then it would be literally like a 30-second rest, just enough to fix your belt, grab a sip of water, and then slap hands again.
Go right back at it.
Go out. So that's just an interesting way that I like to train.
That's amazing, because it's so awesome. It's obviously it works, and it can work for a lot of people out there. And you have to find what works for you as well. You know what I mean? Like, you knew your body, like, going into it. I've never trained. I've done sprints and intervals, like, for all my marathons, and be able to, but I went from like an endurance standpoint. I was like, oh, I can run forever. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The interesting thing of what I was also like going to add to that was, with all of that, like, kind of said, with my goal being flow rolling, my approach is kind of like, now I have to shift that. Now my goal is, how can I train with a sustained intensity for 40 minutes for 1 minute? I won't be able to train my 2 minute pace. 40 minutes. So it forces me to know that the timeline here is a 40-minute match. Poor sister, bless her. She's the one under it. 40 minutes on. And so, like, my goal is, how can I still have good performance, do my techniques, still operate at a decent pace while also not burning out, because now I'm at 40 minutes, not 2 minutes. So that's kind of how I've been training myself to kind of integrate more of that flow, so that I'm not completely tanked by the end of it.
Right. So are you going to train I'm saying this jokingly, everybody, you're going to do a nice 15-minute no-gi match on flow grappling, like the rest of our fellow practitioners out there?
I would love to. Oh my God. Like, I would love to. I'm all for it. I'm definitely looking to do some fight to wins as they come in the area. I missed one fight to wins. Last time I did that was purple belt, 4-stripe purple belt, and then like pandemic, things like that. So, and then having a kid and all of that. I remember
watching that.
Finally, So I just I love those styles. I'm doing a fight to win, like, sponsored, created event next week. It's a Dallas Open.
Oh, cool. Very good.
Created through Fight to Win. So I'm really excited about that, just to kind of just get out there and compete. Super fights are my favorite style.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I just personally really like it, and I think it's really fun to just showcase it. And I
say it jokingly because I'm being older, and I love Flow grappling. Like I watch it all the time, or what? Not all the time, but every time there's either fight to win or who's number one or whatever. But I always joke with Chad. I'm like, I don't understand it, man. Like the guys are 15-minute long. Like
some of them are 20 minutes.
I know when Gordon's on, I'm like, I love you, brother, but I'm like, these matches, like 30-minute matches, are so hard for me. Like, I'm like, come on, do something. I don't even know what the heck they're doing anyway. So it doesn't really matter for me, but it's okay. I still like it though. I still watch it, of course.
It's intense to train at that level for that.
Did you watch
for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Did you watch Worlds? What were we 2 weeks out from Worlds?
Yeah,
that was
a couple
2 weeks ago. Since you're here, Natalie, I want to ask you this question. I haven't talked to you about this, Chad. So there's this big thing. There was a big controversy going on with the reffing because like ankle locks people were getting DQ'd. Do either one of you guys see this or read about this?
Because of the ankle locks?
Yeah, they were getting DQ'd. Like they were being called, I don't know if what I read, refs were mistakenly thinking it was something else and they were an ankle lock or something. So I didn't know, if either one of you saw it.
I didn't see that. I didn't hear about that, but there are some leg attacks that can be disguised as straight ankle locks that aren't a Steama lock, right?
Yeah.
Sure,
a Steama lock, if done correctly, we had Edwin Najmi, who was really big at doing that, put it on me. And if they do it correctly, it's a heel hook. Just the way they hit it.
Yeah.
And step. Yeah. So there's some things that can be discussed. So maybe it was something like that. Maybe it was a grip that was going against the knee and,
I didn't know. I wanted to ask, and I always ask our guests, like stuff like that, when they're on, if they have an opportunity to see it, just because I'm a white belt, man. I don't know crap. I can read all I want, but I always want to.
The coolest thing about this year's Worlds, I think more than the past, is all the new names we're seeing. Yeah. There's definitely a changing of the guard with these young guys like Mika Galval being 18. And man, that dude will win as many world championships as he wants, unless he goes to MMA or something. Maybe he does both, but him and the Rotulos and all these young guys is just amazing.
They're so good.
It's so incredible.
Yeah.
And it's awesome too that they're incorporating a lot of like what you represent, Natalie, in terms of taking care of yourself. Like we talk of older grapplers and MMA guys, they didn't do that. It was like train as hard as you can all the time. Here's a packet of tuna and that's all you get to eat for like a week. And then, you know what I mean? Like now it's like people pay attention to this stuff. They understand it. They're starting to understand like rest days are important. Like you need to take this off, or you need to be smart about everything that you're doing. And obviously it's going to make their careers go for a very long time versus there is an era of when that started in, let's say the 90s or whatever on a competition level and higher in MMA and stuff. Those guys lasted, but every day was a fight for them, even in the gym when they were training. Now it's not like that so much. So
yeah, 100%. And if they didn't experience it then, which they probably didn't, a lot of them experience it later when their body catches up to them.
For sure.
That's
right.
one thing that I'm constantly telling athletes, I've heard it my whole life around, I'm 18, I can eat what I want. I can train what I want. And I always say that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
100%.
Right? Like you have to have that discernment and that discipline to know when to back off for the longevity. But the thing is, people who are young in today's world don't think of long-term. They don't think of longevity. I take a lot of pride in being a lifelong athlete and just hitting 30 this year with never having had an injury and feeling literally even better than I was at 18. And it's because I take these principles to heart. I really believe in the longevity of it. You can, my inspiration for life and in this world is not even jiu-jitsu related. It's literally Tony Horton. You guys know who that is?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. Yep.
Like he is just every year gets older. I think in his 60s now. He was the one who got me into fitness. I got his DVDs on
stuff. Nice.
Now with the tapes and all that.
If you look at him, you would never know he's that old though. Like
he's constantly taking care of himself and all of that. But to see him be able to age like that, it's like that is success in my mind.
Yeah.
That's success. Be able to perform at that level and constantly get better. The older you get, I feel like that's like the narrative that people need to have, because so many people, I work with a lot of women, especially as they get older, it's like their number one narrative is, because I'm X age, this is why I can't do this. And I'm like, that's not true at all.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
That's a belief that you're holding, and our actions are going to confirm our belief. But your age does not limit you unless you claim it to limit you.
Yeah. You put that label on.
We're defying age as the limit.
Yep.
And then
100%.
let that be proof that it's possible. And it's just your mind telling you, that it's your mind that's wrong. It's the thoughts that are wrong. It's not your ability.
Yeah. If you're willing to re-blueprint your mind thinking, even at an older age, I tell people this all the time, because you relate to what you're saying, Natalie, is people are like, oh, I'm old, I can't do that anymore or whatever. And I'm like, you're putting that label on yourself. You are. No one's putting that label on you. No one's going, go ahead, Chad.
And we talked about society. You hit a certain age, they think you shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't be active anymore.
Right.
I started jujitsu at 29 years old, and, grew up doing martial arts. And I had family members like, you're still doing this? Yeah, I'm still doing it. It's part of my life. It's who I am, so I think that's part of it too. You get to a certain age and you think, well, I can't do that, or why should I do that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like 30 is such a special milestone for me personally, because that has been the age personally as a female that I have heard. You have no idea how many times I've heard this statement. Once you hit 30, it's all going to go downhill.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, every single woman I've talked to says, just wait till you hit 30.
Wow, really?
Bones are going to start aching. This is going to start hurting. And granted, I'm only a few months into my 30s, but based off how I feel in this moment, I can't imagine tomorrow I'm going to feel decrepit. Right.
Right.
I look pretty amazing right now.
Yeah. You look great. I mean, it's like, yeah.
Thanks. Like, I was just so determined to be like, that is not the truth.
Yeah. Here's a bigger thing we should think. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, people believe it. And then the interesting thing about how the body works, the mind works, is we actually will create the scenarios to reinforce our beliefs always.
Yeah.
Always.
As we believe that 30 is when everything starts to go downhill, there is numerous studies that show when people hold those beliefs, their body actually starts to break down.
Yeah.
Because it's the belief that they have.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the action that they take, they don't show up for themselves. They don't feed themselves because they're like, what's the point? XYZ, it all compounds. And then they're like, oh, see, I told you this is what happens.
Yeah.
You poison your own brain.
Yeah.
By the way that you think.
What we should be thinking about is what is going to happen if we don't do these things. If you were just sitting around after you get off work, or, it's not good.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Got to be active.
That's where the pandemic messed me up a little bit, because I work from home now, and we're not going back regularly, but I had a gym at work. Like, I worked out every day. I'm an office junkie. I'm an engineer. I draw on the computer all day. But we have a gym in our building, and I would go down at lunchtime every single day and work out. And so now that I'm comfortable at my house, I have a gym in the basement, and I don't use it near as much that I did at work. And I'm like, wow. And there are days where I'll go and train, and then I'm really sore. And I'm like, oh, dude, you did this to yourself. Like, you did it. Like, I'll joke and tell people, like, I'm telling my wife, and she knows me. She's like, you're never going to stop. And I was like, I can't. Like, if I stop, that's it. Like, I'm done. Like, my body's going to seize up on me.
Environment plays a huge role, in our ability to kind of create that routine for ourselves. And when it's so comfortable and close to home, and the refrigerator is right there,
I know.
It's so easy. That is where, what I call self-loving discipline really comes into play and needs to be exercised, to just be like, really just constantly ask yourself, is the action I'm about to take, is it aligned with the goals that I have? Like, it really gets to be that simple sometimes. Like, and the question is also, if you don't have clear goals, that's the first step. If you don't actually have a goal for yourself, somewhere that you're headed, of course, it's hard to break it down then into what are the small action steps I should commit to on a daily basis that are going to lead to that goal. So get clear on the goals that you have. But if you have your goals, then it's aligning your actions with the goal, and
100%.
even if the urge is there, the urge is like, it's just so much easier to take this path. But it's like, but if you're shooting for greatness, it's not easy.
Right.
Yes, yeah, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life to shoot for greatness, but it's also the best thing that you can put in your brain because it will lead you to continuously push yourself beyond what you probably think that you're capable of doing.
Yeah, one of my husband and I every year we kind of have words that we use for a theme for the year and do like some like visioning and stuff.
Yeah.
His little phrase for the year, which I have my own, but I've adopted his also because I really like it. It helps me kind of, again, fine tune my habits. But his little phrase for this year is the standard is excellence. So that's kind of what he just took in. Like, that's what he wanted to take in for this year. And I was like, I really like that. So like everything I'm doing, it's like, is every action and habit that I have right now, is it what I classified as excellence? Or am I being easy? Or am I being lackluster? Where can I integrate more excellence in this one thing? It doesn't necessarily mean do more than what you're already doing, but can you increase the quality of what you're already doing? You know, are you really fully putting 110%, or are you only half-assing it, you know, every once in a while, right? And so like that has been something that I've really liked this year, and I think could be a great, you know, thing to reflect on. Yeah,
it's good because it's accountability and ownership. You take ownership of the accountability of the things that you're doing, you know, and you have to own it. And having that's a great phrase to have, like every day. You could say it every day, have it written down, whatever. You know, people out there listening, I always, you know, you hear me on the show all the time talk about writing things down or something like that. That's a phrase that you write down and you see it, unless you have it in your mind, like Natalie has it in her mind, obviously. But for people out there that want to be better or want to do better, I recommend writing stuff like that down because it's a goal. It's also a goal, like Natalie's talking
somewhere about. You can see it.
Yeah. Somewhere you can see it.
Yeah,
for sure. Black belt. I mean, if I write that down, I see it every day. It's gonna be like 20 more years. I'll be like 70.
We'll be right.
So I'll just see it every day and be like, I'm almost there. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking, everybody. Let's have a little light. It's good.
The belts will come as long as you don't stop.
Yeah, that's it. That Wednesday.
The rule is every time you ask when you get your next belt, another year is added before you get it.
Yeah, don't ask, right?
Yeah, don't ask at all. I told Chad, like, I struggled this week a little bit mentally, and Wednesday I literally was like, I have no desire to do this tonight. I did not want to do jujitsu. And my wife was like, you need to go, like, just go. And I go and I drive, no music on the way there. I get there and I get in and I was like, I'm so glad I'm here. And then I did rolls and everything. And we talk about this a million times. Like no one that does jujitsu probably isn't listening to the show, but you know, you have those moments and it's like your mind wants to tell you to stop, walk away, quit. You're not going to do this. You can't do this or whatever. And I was just like, screw it, doing it anyway. And I did it. And then I felt great. And then I drove home with loud music and windows
those are some of the best training nights you'll have, or the ones you don't want to be there, or you don't, you know, you feel like not rolling or whatever until you slap and bump. And then it's time to, you know, it feels good.
100%.
And the environment, like, you know, we talked about it. That environment was huge because it was like, I needed that feeding of people who I knew connected and cared. And you know what I mean? It wasn't like, hey, let's get a roll in and get out of here. No, it was
and that's the big thing. And Terry knows, I'll say it 100, a million times. Like when people walk in East Coast, even being a member as long as Terry has, I want you to feel that atmosphere when you walk in. Like, this is where I need to be. Or if you're a new person, this is where I need to be. I don't initially care about you knowing we're good at jujitsu at first, right? I want you to feel comfortable and then do class, be like, oh, you know what? They know how to do jujitsu too. And they're good, but man, because we've all been Terry hasn't been around that much, but you roll at some gyms and you don't get that good atmosphere. You get that like, whew, it's going to be a fight today, or, just the energy. You can feel that energy.
Energy is so important. 100%.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Definitely. So,
well,
Natalie, we kept you a solid hour. I want you to tell everyone how they can find you. Talk about your show. You can anything you want. If you have any questions for us too, obviously we can answer.
I feel like we can do a part 2 sometime too, Natalie. As much stuff as you're into.
Yeah,
we can.
I would love to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So much we could dive into. We hit a little bit of some training and recovery stuff, but I mean, nutrition, breath work, mindset. Like, there's so much.
And it's vital for everyone out there to understand. It's so vital in today's life that we all live. What Natalie is speaking and what she's teaching and training and coaching people is vital to your livelihood.
Yeah.
And if you're training in anything, I don't care what it is, if you're just listening to this show and you're like, hey, I lift weights all the time, or I run marathons or whatever, these are keys. My wife just got done running her first half marathon roughly a month ago. 4 weeks ago, I think. And this is the same exact training we did. Like this very much training. I kept her in that mindset the whole time. She wanted to do it. Said, fine, this is what you're going to have to do. And this is what we're going to do. And there were, and stuff that Natalie already talked about, of that mind's telling her to quit. She had a mile left. I'll never forget. She hit mile 12 and I was right there. She was running right at me. I said, you have 1 mile left. I said, it hurts, but you have a mile left and your mind's telling you to quit. I was screaming. Guys were like looking at me. I was like screaming it. And then she was like thumbs up and I was like, now get it. And she just took off and she finished really good. And she was really, really happy because she actually had her first real injury. It was a running injury. So, it was good. That's why I even second what Chad's saying, like, part 2. Natalie, like anytime you want to
so much we can get into,
we can get into so much.
I'm trying to be a little more on the holistic side. My girlfriend's very big into that, modern, trying to heal yourself holistically versus just taking things, like, she's big into crystals and, oils and all that stuff. I just bought I'm not a reader by any means, but I just bought a book. I want to start maybe tonight reading it, called Earthing, where you're connecting to the ground and walking in your bare feet,
practice.
Yeah. I'm never in my bare feet. I sleep with socks on, but I'm trying. Yeah, I know.
I've never have anything on now.
I can probably count on 2 hands how many times I've worn sneakers in my life. I mean, aside maybe all the track practices, but like I live in bare feet.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was listening to another podcast and they had
my feet are strong because I'm constantly in bare feet.
Yeah.
I'm so hold resistant.
Chad, what were you going to say?
I was listening to another podcast and they had John Combs on, who's a black belt out of Colorado. And he's like, I read this book called Earthing about connecting to the ground and how it can really help heal your body in certain ways too. Yeah. So I'm going to check
ions of the earth literally help to heal the like acidic environment that we have in our body. The ions of the earth like neutralize it and alkalize it and really grounds our nervous system.
Yeah. So I've tried to even before this, I was trying to make a point like, I'm up, 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. And what do you do as soon as you get up? Oh, I'll check my phone. Who emailed me? It's just so it's in our habit, So I try to put that away, relax a little bit. I'll go outside, do some push-ups in the grass. I've been trying to really get outside for that first hour and leave my phone away, because once you're on it all day.
Yeah.
Checking stuff. And so trying to create good habits.
Yeah. That's what you do. Right. And connecting yourself, like, meditation, we've talked about at the gym before. And Natalie, I know you're big on meditation, like trying to get that one, like, and I tell people all the time, like, if you're going to start meditating, don't expect it to be perfect. You may only get 30 seconds in before your brain decides to detach and start thinking about something else. Try to focus on that one thing and then continuously build on that each day, maybe the first thing in the morning or maybe before you go to bed to calm yourself down or whatever. But I think it's a way for you to connect, not only to yourself, but to what's going on around you.
Yeah,
it helps.
For sure.
Often what I recommend people to do, and they can check me out if they're interested for more breathwork aspects, but what I recommend, having been somebody who was embarked on meditation to start before discovering breathwork, I had a lot of that monkey mind, a lot of that more inability to sit down because I was constantly going. So meditation was really hard to sit down. So I needed something for me to do other than focus on thoughts because it didn't really work for me. So breath work is actually a tangible practice, right? We have to focus on our breath and we're actually physically doing something. So for those who are like me and have that hard time sitting down, it gives your mind something to do. And in the process of focusing on your breath in these patterns, you actually drop into your body. So that's the point of meditation. One aspect of meditation, but it's hard when your mind is just going off. So giving your mind something to do and focusing on the breath kind of has this like little hidden agenda that drops you into your body where you can actually relax, because otherwise it might take you an hour of meditation alone to actually feel that shift. But breath work is a modality that helps you get there quicker. And then if you desire to meditate, doing that after breath work, it's usually way more accessible.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I've seen I've seen you do breath work on Instagram, seen your videos that you post and stuff like that. And I haven't done it. I don't sleep well. I haven't forever. I'm usually, lucky if I get 4 hours of sleep a night. And I've been like that forever, but my mind doesn't shut off. Like it doesn't shut off when I go to sleep. I'm a very crazy thinker and it'll just go down rabbit holes. And I've tried, and I could take stuff. I mean, I take CBD and stuff like that, but I could take like Tylenol PM and I hate it because it makes me feel like crap when I wake up in the morning. Everyone's like, oh, well, doesn't this make you feel refreshed? I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's awful. I hate it. And it's back to that old, I'm with Chad. Like I like to do holistically stuff. I don't like to take like just pills or stuff like, oh, here, I can go to the doctor right now and get anything I want and it'll make me go to sleep. Sure. That's great. But I hate that. So I'm going to try to do it. I watch you doing it and I'm like, oh God, Terry, you're going to look like an idiot, but I'll just do it in the basement while I'm watching in my man cave and then I'll go to bed. So I'm going to attempt it.
Especially for nighttime, you don't have to do any of the crazy ones. It's really, when it comes to that, it's just activating the vagus nerve, activating the parasympathetic nerve. So actually the slower and the deeper the breath is what you want to do. So nobody will really even know you're doing it because it's not like any of the crazy ones I've done where we're power pumping and all that.
I've seen, I'm like, what the heck is that? No.
Like in through your nose, maybe hold it for like 5 seconds and just like a nice slow release through your mouth and just like literally 10 times and that will really, really help. But it's all about slow and holding your breath at the top is what's going to activate that the vagus nerve, which is what shifts you into the parasympathetic state, which is what puts our body in that state for restoration and for healing and for deeper sleep.
Okay.
So it's actually the slow, deep breaths and holding. Like I often do an inhale. You
hold in chest or in diaphragm? So
You're always trying to breathe from the belly.
From the belly. Okay. So like the diaphragm belly. Okay.
Yeah, you're really trying to inhale it all deeply, not from the chest. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I'm good. This is it. Everyone out there. In a week, I'm going to be like, listen, Natalie hooked the brother up. This is old guy on the podcast now. It'd be great. It's good. Well, tell everyone how to get at you in the podcast. The podcast is going well. You have a lot of shows in the bank. Make sure we get, everything, and everyone knows this, but I will have everything in the show notes as well. So they can click on links. They can get to you. They can find you and everything. So
awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So you can hang out with me on Instagram, Nattiebossrd, our business page, BodyByBoss LLC, for more of what we do in our coaching programs and offerings that we have for athletes. And you can always go to the website that, again, highlights more details of kind of everything that's included with all the programs that we have and everything like that. That is bodybyboss.com. And the podcast, the Empowered Athlete Podcast, we drop episodes every Monday. So tomorrow is actually an interview with a guy who's like an expert in T for recovery, longevity, and performance. So that'll be dropping tomorrow. And the Empowered Athlete Podcast is really just to help athletes just expand more holistically, help them, deeply connect to their spirituality, to their emotional intelligence, their physical performance, their mental performance, everything that has led me to be where I am today is what I share. And then bringing guests on and lots of solo episodes with my knowledge and experience that I have as well. But so far I'm loving it. I would love for you guys to check us out. We're on Spotify and Anchor, and I could definitely send them the link to that podcast to put in the show notes. But that's where you can find me. I'm very active on social media. Although I do create boundaries, I've been less active because I'm trying to be more present in my personal life and just
sure.
And social media can suck you into not being present in your life. And
For sure.
Yeah. So I do respond. I am present, but just know that maybe Natalie 4 years ago that was on 24/7, not so much, but definitely the best way to connect with me is through my Instagram. That's where I love hanging out and connecting. So feel free to say hi.
Awesome. Very cool. Great stuff. Yeah. And thank you so much for hanging out with us, Natalie. We appreciate it greatly. It's amazing knowledge. It's, as I said earlier, it's vital for people to understand this. And kudos to you for stepping back and knowing, which it doesn't surprise me that you wouldn't, but going, hey, I need my personal life, because Chad and I talk about that all the time. It's like we're grown men. We have families. We actually didn't drop a show for a couple of weeks. And it was like, cool. Like, it was just like, hey, we're grown. Like, we have families. We have to do this and take care of this. Like,
things happen.
Things happen. So,
I'm on a mission. I'm building a business. I have a huge vision, but at the end of the day, I have a son and a husband. And when I die, I want to make sure the experiences we have are rich, and that I was present for them, and wasn't just on social media. And finding that balance is really important. And ultimately, it's going to make you happier when you're actually present in your real life, because that's actually happening.
Yeah. That's actually your day to day.
Yeah.
So if you don't take care of your day to day, everything else is going to suck. Trust me. It's going to. I want to ask you one thing, and you can tell me to piss off. It doesn't matter. Your tattoo on your arm, does it have a significance?
Yes, this is Pocahontas.
So okay, awesome. I thought so. And I was like, I'm going to ask Natalie when we have her on the show, because I know you haven't had that for a super long time.
No, right? I think I got it last year, but it's just a reminder for me. Again, Pocahontas is Native American, but it's the whole idea of just, she's a free spirit. She kind of follows her intuition. She goes against the grain. She's connected to nature. She's kind of like a hippie in a Native American sense. Just like bare feet, just like running wild, free spirited. And that's just a lot of who I am, and just a constant reminder to kind of stay anchored into that and not lose who I am.
Awesome. That's so cool. Like, I love it. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, I bet there's a Native American significance to this. So when you said it, and obviously Chad and I are
Thanks for asking.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think it's important for people to understand sometimes, because people are like, oh, you just got a tattoo. It's like, well, you don't know what that means to them. You know what I mean? And I mean, people ask me now, because I've gotten tattoos. I've had tattoos, but I've gotten a lot of tattoos over the last couple of years because of that knucklehead over there. I blame him all the time, because he's like, you can get more tattoos? I'm like, I don't know. But I do. Like, I even have a hand tattoo, which everyone freaked out at first, because they're like, you got a hand tattoo? Like, you wear like dress clothes to work. You're like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's fine, man. I'm established. I've been doing this for a very long time. Like, it's okay. Yeah. And my wife gave me the blessing. She's like, if you're going to do it, go do it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did it. Now I have it. It's not going away, which is fine. But I have a whole theme, and Chad has a whole theme. So I'm glad I asked. And again, appreciate your time so much for hanging out with us. Good luck and everything. We definitely will stay connected. We got to reconnect anytime. Come on the show. Anything you need, let us know. If we can help, we'll help. Anything.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm so down for another episode. We can just stay connected, and let me know when you got to fill something maybe in your schedule, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, Natalie. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you guys go out and find her. She's got great information, obviously. Good stuff. All right, guys. Until next week. Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.